Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Yes, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, everybody. Welcome to Sri Sri Radha Kalachandji. I want to welcome my parents who have come all the way from Mysore here. Welcome. Hare Krishna. So before we start, let us sing Jai Radha Madhav. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Hare Krishna.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Thankful. Jaya Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. O Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. O Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. O Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. O Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Kunja Bihari. Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we'll all say the prayers together, and then we'll have the English translation. Narayana namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayan, unto Nara Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with a torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. That's it? Okay. Hare Krishna. So before we start, let us make a small sankalpa and a prayer to Sri Sri Radha Kalachandji that we are able to go deeply into the subject matter, so we are able to come a little closer to them. Hare Krishna. So we are going to continue our reading from Canto 2, Chapter 9, which is titled Answers by Citing the Lord's Version. And we are going to read today from text number 4 all the way to 17. And we are going to deep dive into verse number 9 today. So, to give some context for devotees who are coming here, from a break, basically, Parikshit Maharaj has 7 days and 7 nights left, and he is sitting on the banks of Ganga. He is hearing from his spiritual master, Shukdev Goswami. And he has asked Shukdev Goswami many questions in the previous chapter. And the reason our acharyas say that these questions were asked by Parikshit Maharaj was, one, to actually know what the purpose of my life is, what the purpose of our lives are. Who are we? Who is Krishna? And what is my relationship to Krishna? Also, our acharyas state that the reason why Parikshit Maharaj asked so many questions was to have Shukdev Goswami speak for a very long time. So in this chapter, we are going to be hearing from Shukdev Goswami the answers to Parikshit Maharaj's questions. So we're going to read text 4. We're going to read the translation. And I'm going to request somebody to read the translation. Do we have a mic? Yes, thank you.
Okay, the personality of Godhead. Being very much pleased with Lord Brahma because of his non-deceptive penance in Bhakti Yoga, presented his eternal and transcendental form before Brahma, and that is the objective goal for purifying the conditioned soul.
So here, Shukdev Goswami is speaking to Maharaj Parikshit, and he is speaking about Lord Brahma. So Lord Brahma, he is the first person in this material world. Does anybody remember how was Lord Brahma born or appear? Anyone? Jose. Yes. So he appeared on the lotus flower from the navel of Lord Krishna, right? From Mahavishnu. Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. So when Lord Brahma appeared, he was the first person. It was dark. Just imagine, right? He's sitting on a lotus flower. It's really dark. There's nobody around him. And he was bewildered. His purpose was to create this material universe. But he was bewildered. He did not know what was the cause of his existence. He did not know how to proceed. So what did he do? He actually went down the lotus stem, right? The lotus stem which was coming from Mahavishnu's navel, he actually goes down all the way to understand who is my creator? How do I proceed, right? So here we see that the personality of Godhead, who was very much pleased by Lord Brahma by his non-deceptive penance and bhakti. So how did he come to this point of bhakti, right? And a very important point here is Shukdev Goswami saying non-deceptive. Can somebody look up what does non-deceptive mean in the dictionary? So non-deceptive, very clear. Very clear. Without any deception, right? Our bhakti should be without any deception. When our bhakti is without any deception, then Krishna is very much pleased, right? So Lord Brahma, he actually travels down the stem of the lotus flower. And our acharyas say that the 14 planetary systems are all situated on the stem of that lotus flower, right? And in one of those planetary systems is Bhuloka. In that we have our Earth. There we have United States. There we have Texas. There we have Dallas. We're sitting here in Radha Kalachandji. And we think we are the boss, right? That's how we feel. But we should understand that we are a very, very minute particle. And we have actually forgotten our relationship with Krishna, right? How do we get back that relationship with Krishna? Lord Brahma here shows us in this chapter. So, here in the purport, Srila Prabhupada speaks about Atma Tattva. Atma Tattva is the science of both God and the living entity. So, Atma, we are both Krishna and us are called Atma. We are the Jiva Atma and Krishna is the Paramatma. And we have misconceptions on both. How do we have misconceptions on both? The Jiva Atma, we consider that the soul is the same as the material body, right? As soon as we get a material body, we get riveted. We think this is who I am. And Paramatma, the misconception which we have with Paramatma is we start to consider that we are one with Krishna, right? So, Srila Prabhupada explains that both these misconceptions can be destroyed by bhakti. And what kind of bhakti? Non-deceptive penance, non-deceptive bhakti. And Krishna, just by getting pleased with our bhakti yoga, he shows himself, his personal form, and he also shows his spiritual abode. And that is the perfection of our lives. The perfection of our lives is for us to get darshan of Krishna. And how do we do that? By non-deceptive bhakti, which Lord Brahma did. So let us read further. Text number 5. Somebody?
Lord Brahma, the first spiritual master, supreme in the universe, could not trace out the source of his lotus seat. And while thinking of creating the material world, he could not understand the proper direction for such creative work, nor could he find out the process for such creation.
So here is a very important point. Srila Prabhupada here explains in the purport that anyone who does bhakti yoga can achieve the same result like Lord Brahma. And what was the result? Which was to identify that creative work, the direction for such creative work. So if we are performing our bhakti yoga sincerely, strictly, with determination, then Krishna will be very pleased. Okay, text number 6.
thus engaged in thinking, in the water, Brahmaji heard twice from nearby 2 syllables joined together. One of the syllables was taken from the 16th and the other from the 21st of the Sparsa alphabets, and both joined to become the wealth of the renounced order of life.
Yeah, so while Brahma was thinking like this, he actually went down all the way to the stem of the lotus flower, and that's where he heard 2 syllables. And one syllable was taken from the 16th, and the other was from the 21st. And Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport that the Sanskrit alphabet is divided into 2 divisions. One is called the Sparsha Varnas, and the other is called the Talavya Varnas. So the 24th, the 16th syllable was Ta, and the 21st syllables was Pa. And when both of them were joined, it became Tapa. Tapa. And tapa means penance or austerity. So he heard this. Just imagine, right? It's completely dark. He's bewildered. He goes all the way down to the lotus flower, the stem of the lotus flower. He heard this, and then he was still bewildered. Let's read text number 7.
When he heard the sound, he tried to find the speaker, searching on all sides. But when he was unable to find anyone besides himself, he thought it was wise to sit down on his lotus seat firmly and give his attention to the execution of penance as he was instructed.
So he heard the sound, and what did he try to do? He tried to find the speaker. He was trying to search in all directions, but he was not able to find anybody, right? Don't we all have distractions like that? Like we have so many distractions in this material world, right? Facebook, Reels, what else? YouTube, right? WhatsApp, so many distractions, right? Same way Lord Brahma, he was also trying to find out who the speaker was. He was trying to search in all directions. But because he was not able to find anyone, what did he do? And Lord Brahma is, we are all coming down in the Brahma, Madhava, Gaudiya Sampradaya. So we are all coming in Brahmaji's line. So what did Brahmaji do? He thought it was wise to sit firmly on a lotus seat and give his attention to the execution of penance. Only when we follow in the footsteps of Lord Brahma, where we are firmly situated in the instructions which our spiritual master has given us, only then Krishna would be pleased. And it's very important that we do some penance, we do some austerity. So, what's important here, which Srila Prabhupada also explains, is that the message which was instructed to Lord Brahma, which was coming directly from Krishna, was actually the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. And the 4 seed verses of Srimad Bhagavatam were actually instructed by Krishna to Lord Brahma. And that is now emanating to us in the form of, Srimad Bhagavatam. Lord Brahma was the most pure soul, and he got personal darshan of Krishna. Now we should not think that, why are we not getting personal darshan of Krishna, right? However, Lord Krishna comes in the form of his bona fide representative, our spiritual masters. So whatever we hear from our spiritual master, we should consider that it's coming as good as Krishna. It's coming from that disciplic succession. So the disciplic succession is very, very important. That chain, and that's the reason why any questions we have to approach a bona fide spiritual master. Okay, text number 8.
Lord Brahma underwent penances for 1,000 years by the calculations of the demigods. He heard this transcendental vibration from the sky, and he accepted it as divine. Thus he controlled his mind and senses, and the penances he executed were a great lesson for the living entities. Thus he is known as the greatest of all
ascetics, yes. And tapa is so important that it is actually called the beauty and the wealth of the brahmanas. So here we see that Lord Brahma underwent penances for 1,000 years by the calculation of demigods. Not our years, but 1,000 years of the demigod years. So that means for a really long time. He was just sitting there firmly on his lotus seat, and he was meditating on the transcendental sound vibration, which was Tapa. Tapa. Right? He was constantly giving his attention to that sound vibration. And when he was giving his attention to the sound vibration, he was able to control his mind and senses. And this is a very, very good instruction for all of us, that how do we need to hear the sound vibration, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, with our firmly situated, and we are constantly hearing that holy name. That's the reason why Lord Brahma is called the greatest of ascetics. Okay, text number 9.
The personality of Godhead, being thus very much satisfied with the penance of Lord Brahma, was pleased to manifest his personal abode. Vaikuntha, the supreme planet above all others. This transcendental abode of the Lord is adored by all self-realized persons, freed from all kinds of miseries and fear of illusory existence.
So after Lord Brahma was performing penances for a really long time, Krishna was very, very pleased. And when Krishna was pleased, what did he do? He appeared. He appeared and he instructed Lord Brahma, and it's very interesting, we'll read later on in this chapter, he personally came and he shook Brahma's hand. He shakes Brahma's hand and he says, congratulations. Yeah? Just imagine. Like, he was so pleased that he came and personally shook Lord Brahma's hand. And he then gave him all that knowledge, and he also showed Lord Brahma his spiritual abode. So we are going to deep dive into this verse today. So let's read the Sanskrit. So I'm going to say it and you all can repeat it. Tasmai swalokam bhagwan shabajitaha sandarshayam asha param na yat param vyapeta sanklesha vimoha sandvasam swadrishtavadbhir purusher abhishtutam tasmai swalokam bhagwan shabajitaha sandarshayam asha param na yat param vyapeta sanklesha vimoha sadvasham swadrishtavadbhir purusher abhishtutam. Someone like to say it? Tasmai swalokam bhagavan sabhajita sandarshayam asha param na yat param vyapeta sanklesha vimoha sadvasham swadrishtavadbhir purusher abhishtutam. Tasmai swalokam bhagavan sabhajita sandarshayama param na yat param vyapeta sanklesha vimoha sadvasham swadrishtavadbhir purusher abhishtutam. Let's do the word for word. Tasmai, unto him. Swalokam, his own planet or abode. Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. Sabhajitaha, being pleased by the penance of Brahma. Sandarshayam Asha, manifested. Param, the supreme. Na, not. Yat, of which. Param, further supreme. Vyapeta, completely given up. Sanklesha, 5 kinds of material afflictions. Vimoha, without illusion. Sadvasham, fear of material existence. Swadrishtavadvihi, by those who have perfectly realized the self. Purushai, by persons. Abhishtutam, worshipped by. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The personality of Godhead, being thus very much pleased, very much satisfied with the penance of Lord Brahma, was pleased to manifest his personal abode, Vaikuntha, the supreme planet above all others. This transcendental abode of the Lord is adorned by all self-realized persons, freed from all kinds of miseries and fear of illusory existence. Purport. The troubles of penance accepted by Lord Brahma were certainly in line of devotional service, bhakti. Otherwise, there was no chance that Vaikuntha or Swalokam, the Lord's personal abodes, would become visible to Brahmaji. So this is an important point, right? Like he wasn't doing an impersonal penance, he was actually performing bhakti. And how do we know that? We know that because Lord Brahma was actually able to see Krishna face to face, and Krishna revealed Vaikuntha Loka to him, right? If he was doing an impersonal penance, he would actually merge. He would like to merge into the effulgence of Krishna. The personal abodes of the Lord, known as Vaikunthas, are neither mythical, nor material, as conceived by the impersonalists. But realization of the transcendental abodes of the Lord is possible only through devotional service. And thus, the devotees enter into such abodes. There is undoubtedly trouble in executing penance. Do we all experience that, or is it just me? Right? Only me. I knew that. So, there is... So, bhakti can be easy if we make it easy, or it can be difficult if we don't pay attention. So there is undoubtedly trouble in executing penance. But the trouble accepted in executing bhakti yoga is transcendental happiness from the very beginning. Whereas the trouble of penance in other process of self-realization like jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, etc., without any Vaikuntha realization ends in trouble only and nothing more. There is no profit in biting husks without grains. Similarly, there is no profit in executing troublesome penances other than bhakti yoga for self-realization. Executing bhakti yoga is exactly like sitting on the lotus sprouted out of the abdomen of the transcendental personality of Godhead. For Lord Brahma was seated there. Brahmaji was able to please the Lord, and the Lord was also pleased to show Brahma his personal abode. Srila Jiva Goswami, in the comments of his Krama Sandarbha, annotation of Srimad Bhagavatam, cites quotation from the Garga Upanishad, Vedic evidence. It is said that Yagna Valkya described the transcendental abode of the Lord to Gargi, and the abode of the Lord is situated above the highest planet of the universe, namely Brahmaloka. This abode of the Lord, although described in revealed scriptures like the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam, remains only a myth for the less intelligent class of men with a poor fund of knowledge. So we should remember here that the material world is only 1/4 of Krishna's energy. 3/4 of Krishna's energy is actually the spiritual world. So there is a much bigger spiritual world which is awaiting all of us, right? And we don't know that. How do we know that? Only by hearing, only by reading, only by things which are revealed from our scriptures, like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, let's continue. Herein, the word Swadrishtavadbihi is very significant. One who has actually realized his self realizes the transcendental form of oneself. Impersonal realization of the self and the supreme is not complete because it is just an opposite conception of material personalities. The personality of Godhead and the personality of devotees of the Lord are all transcendental. They do not have material bodies. The material body is overcast with 5 kinds of miserable conditions. What are those? Ignorance, material conception, attachment, hatred, and absorption. As long as one is overwhelmed by these 5 kinds of material miseries, there is no question of entering into the Vaikuntha lokas. The impersonal conception of oneself is just the negation of material personality and is far from the positive existence of personal form. The personal forms of the transcendental abode will be explained in the following verses. Brahmaji also described the highest planet of the Vaikuntha Loka as Goloka Vrindavan, where the Lord resides as a cowherd boy, keeping transcendental Surabhi cows and surrounded by hundreds and thousands of goddesses of fortune. And how do we know that? Lord Brahma sang the Brahma Samhita, right? And the Brahma Samhita was so dear that our dear Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he searched to find the Brahma Samhita, and he was so happy when he found it in a temple in Kerala, and he only found the 5th chapter of the Brahma Samhita. So let us all sing this together. Chintamani prakarasatmashu kalpavriksha lakshavrateshu surabhirabhipalayantam Lakshmi sahasra satasambhrama sevyamanam Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. So this is from Brahma Samhita 529. So this is Lord Brahma. He sang these prayers after he met Krishna, and Krishna revealed to him Vaikuntha. The statement of the Bhagavad Gita, Yat gatva na nivartante tad dhama paramam mamam, is also confirmed herewith. Param means transcendental Brahman. Therefore, the abode of the Lord is also Brahman, non-different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord is known as Vaikuntha, and his abode is also known as Vaikuntha. Such Vaikuntha realization and worship can be made possible by transcendental form and sense. So here, we should understand that just by following the order of our spiritual master, which is our life and soul, Brahma, he was able to control his senses, and he was able to please Krishna with his tapasya, with his austerity. And only by his devotional service, which was bhakti, he was able to then realize the Vaikuntha planets. So now, from text 10 to 17, which we're going to read today, we're going to read the translations. Krishna is now explaining or revealing his transcendental abode. Who's ready to read and hear about the transcendental abode? Let's do it.
In that personal abode of the Lord, the material modes of ignorance and passion do not prevail, nor is there any of their influence in goodness. There is no predominance of the influence of time. So what to speak of the illusory external energy? It cannot enter that region. Without discrimination, both the demigods and demons worship the Lord as devotees.
So when you're explaining something, there are 2 ways to explain it. First one is in a negative way, what it is not, and the other way is in a positive way. So, for example, if I had to explain this chadar, right? I would say, well, this is not silk. It is not made of wool, right? But in a positive way, I would explain, well, I bought it from Vrindavan, right? It's made of cotton, right? So there are two ways in which we can explain something. So in text 10, Shukdev Goswami is explaining it in a negative way. What the Vaikuntha planets are not, right? So there, the material modes of ignorance and passion do not prevail, like how it prevails here in the material world. Nor there is any influence, nor there is any of their influence in goodness. There is no predominance of the influence of time, right? Time is something which is only prevalent in the material world. There's no concept of time in the spiritual world. That's the reason why in the spiritual world nobody gets old. Everybody is in their youthful forms, which we're going to read further. So there's no illusory external energy. It cannot enter that region. Okay, let's read text 11.
The inhabitants of Vaikuntha planets are described as having a glowing, sky-bluish complexion. Their eyes resemble lotus flowers. Their dress is of yellowish color, and their bodily features are attractive. They are just the age of growing youths. They all have 4 hands. They are all nicely decorated with pearl necklaces, with ornamental medallions, and they all appear to be effulgent.
They're all glowing. Text 13. The Vaikuntha planets are all surrounded by various airplanes, all glowing and brilliantly situated. These airplanes belong to the great Mahatmas or devotees of the Lord. The ladies are as beautiful as lightning because of their celestial complexion. And all these combined together appear just like the sky decorated with both clouds and lightning. So here we see that there are airplanes, airplanes which are not running on diesel. There are no crashes, right? They're celestial airplanes, glowing and brilliantly situated. Also, they say that the ladies are compared as lightning and the men are compared as clouds. So the sky is decorated both with clouds and lightning, right? That's how the spiritual world is. Text 14.
The goddess of fortune in her transcendental form is engaged in the loving service of the Lord's feet, and being moved by the black bees, followers of spring, she is not only engaged in variegated pleasure, service to the Lord, along with her constant companions, but is also engaged in singing the glories of the Lord's activities.
So here we see like how we're getting closer and closer, right? So we started with the inhabitants of Vaikuntha planets, then they explained all the airplanes, and now we are coming to the goddess of fortune, who is serving the transcendental form of Krishna's lotus feet, right? Okay, text 15.
Lord,
You're choked up? After hearing the Vaikuntha? Okay, I'll read. Text.
Text 15. Lord Brahma saw in the Vaikuntha planets the personality of Godhead, who is the Lord of the entire devotee community, the Lord of the goddess of fortune, the Lord of all sacrifices, and the Lord of the universe, and who is served by the foremost servitors like Nanda, Sunanda, Prabala, and Arhana, his immediate associates.
16.
Text 16, the personality of Godhead seen leaning favorably towards his loving servitors, his very sight intoxicating and attractive, appeared to be very much satisfied. He had a smiling face decorated with an enchanting reddish hue. He was dressed in yellow robes and wore earrings and a helmet on his head. He had 4 hands and his chest was marked with the lines of the goddess of fortune.
So here we see how the personality of Godhead was leaning favorably towards his loving servitudes, right? This is a very important point. Krishna never leaves us, right? In this material world, when you look around, everything is so temporary, right? Our relationships with each other are temporary. Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport that all these relationships around us are like bubbles in the water. They just come for a few moments and they're all going to disappear, right? We have so many expectations sometimes, right, with all our different relationships, but we all all our expectations are not met, right? And that's why we feel sad in this material world. That's why the material world is called Dukhalyam Ashashvatam, right? At every step in this material world, there is Vipadam, which is misery, right? Padam, Padam, Vipadam. However, in the Vaikuntha planets, Krishna here, who is our dear friend, he is the only person who has been with us through so many millions of lifetimes, right? He's sitting closely with us, observing what we are doing. And what does he do? He leans favorably towards his loving servitudes. Text 17. This is the last verse for today. The Lord was seated on his throne and was surrounded by different energies, like the 4, the 16, the 5, and the 6 natural opulences, along with other insignificant energies of temporary character. But he was the factual Supreme Lord, enjoying his own abode. So here we see how Lord Brahma, with performance of bhakti, with austerity, by doing tapa, was able to attract the Supreme Personality of Godhead to come in front of him and reveal to him the spiritual knowledge and show the entire abode, the Vaikuntha planets. So dear devotees, we should all try to follow in the footsteps of Brahmaji, so that way we are able to take the instructions which our spiritual masters have given us and make our lifetime successful and be able to see Krishna face to face. So I'll stop here and see if we have a couple of reflections. Anything which stuck to you? Yes, Prabhu. Here comes the mic.
So I'm wondering if you can give some details on these 4, 16 and 5 energies.
Yes. So we can go to the purport. Actually, Srila Prabhupada explains in detail. He says that first of all, Krishna is served with 16 energies. What are those? The principal are 4, which is Prakriti, Purusha, Mahatattva and Ego. Then we have 5 elements, which are earth, water, air, fire and sky. Then we have the 5 sense organs, which are eye, ear, nose, tongue and skin. Then we have the 5 working organs, which are the hand, the leg, the stomach, the evacuation outlet and the genitals. Then we have the mind, and so on, right? So anybody who is, wants to go a little bit more into detail, we can go into the purport. But what we are observing here is Krishna, the personality of Godhead, is in the Vaikuntha, and he's actually surrounded by all his different energies, right? Because everything in the spiritual world is a personality. Hope that was okay, Prabhu. Okay. Any other? Yes.
I was going to ask the number of the text. The one that you were just doing, the one that says, you were just listing it just now. Sorry, I don't remember.
17?
No, it was the other one that was longer.
16?
I think so. It was talking about, he's like listing out.
We can go back. Prabhu, can you just go to the translations? I think she has a question.
Some of the things that were listed were like organs. Yeah.
The purport? The text 17 purport. Yeah? Oh, you just want to read it?
No, I just want to know the numbers I can write down.
Oh, yes. So we have, yes. So Krishna, the Lord, was seated on his throne and was surrounded by different energies, like the 4, the 16, the 5, and 6. And what are those? So the 4, Srila Prabhupada explains, are the principles of Prakriti, Purusha, Mahat Tattva, and ego. So that's the 4. Then the 16, this is how it's broken up. We have the 5 elements, we have the 5 perceptive sense organs, so that's 10. Then we have the 5 working organs, 15, and the mind, that makes 16. Then we have the other 5, which are the sense objects, which is form, taste, smell, sound, and touch. So all these 25 items serve Krishna. Is that okay? Yeah? Okay. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for the class.
By the way, I'm loving you like this. So cool.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So, and we can understand it. I think it's very obvious, but I think we can, I can understand that Brahma, his first action, I mean, it was the first devotional action ever in this material existence, right?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Like Lord Brahma, he actually performed bhakti, right? And what he showed with his actions is that you can't just see Krishna without performing some endeavor, right? And what was his endeavor? He performed tapasya or austerity or penance, right? Krishna also explains that in the Damodar Leela, right? In the Damodar Leela, he breaks the pot and he's running, right? And his mother, Yashoda, she's running after him. And she really ran. Our acharyas explained that she was really running behind him. And, you know, after she caught him, she tried to bind Krishna. And she got so much rope, right? But every time she got rope, it was 2 fingers too short. And our acharyas explained why were there 2 fingers. One was the endeavor which the devotees have to perform to show Krishna that we really want you. And the second finger was Krishna's mercy. Nobody can actually catch Krishna. It's only by Krishna's mercy that he will reveal that to us. So here in Lord Brahma's, case, we see Lord Brahma, he did penance for thousands of years. That was his endeavor. And then Krishna showed his mercy by appearing in front of him. So,
another question. So Brahma at this time, he didn't know about Krishna. He didn't know who was the creator. And so that makes me think that, what about the knowledge? Because I mostly think, I was thinking that we needed knowledge in order to do bhakti. But maybe we can go through these austerities and without even know there's a God.
that's a very nice point. So, the question, if I'm understanding, is in Lord Brahma's case, when he started doing tapa or penance, he did not know that it is who is Krishna. He did not know. He did not know the Vaikuntha planets. He just took that this is something which is coming from Krishna or from the personality of Godhead, that this is divine, and I am instructed to hear that sound vibration, right? So, my understanding is that Krishna, like Brahma, from his way in which he did tapasya, we see that just by focusing on that sound vibration, everything was revealed. Another example which comes to my mind is Gopakumar. So Gopakumar's whole pastime is in Brihad Bhagavatamrita. He was given a mantra from his teacher, and before his teacher could explain to him what the mantra meant, he disappeared. However, Gopakumar took that instruction to heart, and he said that I just have to chant this mantra. And just by chanting this mantra, everything is going to be revealed. And that's what happened. The whole Brihad Bhagavatamrita is about that. How everything was revealed. He actually became a king, and how he progressed all the way to to Goloka. And there's also a description how he comes to the Vaikuntha planets. So we should consider ourselves very lucky that because of Srila Prabhupada's mercy, we actually know who Krishna is. We are seeing the deity form, right? We know the pastimes, and we have the mantra. So if we don't take advantage, Srila Prabhupada says that we are committing our own spiritual suicide. So hope that was okay. Yes, Prabhu. Please take the mic. There are lots of devotees here. Yes. Yes, let's do that. So it's getting late for our Krishna house devotees. So we'll take this question at breakfast time. I will answer this. This is a nice question. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Hope you all have a wonderful Krishna conscious filled day. Hare Krishna. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Krishna house devotees ki jai.